SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fan, Minnesota is in the middle of a wild stretch of decisions. There's a key piece of the offense walking out the door, and rumors of a possible addition that could shake everything up. This isn't just movement. This is real momentum building fast. On top of that, there's a heavy decision involving a major name on defense and an intriguing detail tied to Carson Wentz's arrival. That part might matter more than it seems. If you think you've already seen it all, just wait until you hear the last part. Now here we go. Brace yourself, because this first one already hits the offense hard. There's a gap in this offense that you just can't ignore. Anyone who follows this team knows that losing depth in the wide receiver group changes everything, and when that depth disappears, the whole structure feels it. It's not just about numbers on the roster, it's rhythm, rotation, and trust on third down. And that's exactly what happened when Jalen Nailor decided to move on. He left, chased a new opportunity, and created a hole behind the top names. And look, pretending that doesn't matter just doesn't work. Now here's where it gets interesting. People are already looking at the market and thinking about a possible trade that could bring in a young, talented name. Someone who hasn't fully found his footing yet. That's where it gets tricky. And that's where Keon Coleman comes in. A guy who entered the league with high expectations. He had everything to break out early, but things haven't clicked the way people expected in Buffalo. Production has been underwhelming. His role hasn't been stable. That kind of situation makes people wonder, is it the system or is it the player? And that question, it matters right now. And that's where Minnesota enters the conversation. With Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison drawing defensive attention, the third receiver here doesn't need to be the face of the franchise. He needs to be efficient. He needs to show up at the right moments. And most importantly, he needs to take advantage of space. In that context, Coleman could breathe again. Less pressure, cleaner opportunities, a situation where he doesn't have to carry everything, just do his job. That kind of setup can change a player's trajectory real fast. Now, let me bring up something not many people are talking about. Nailor himself, even after leaving, still spoke about the team. And when the topic was the quarterback situation, he didn't hesitate. He made it clear he believes in J.J. McCarthy. He said the guy can absolutely be the answer, as long as he gets reps and stays healthy. That says a lot, because it's coming from someone who was inside that locker room, someone who saw practice and felt the environment. That kind of perspective carries weight. And about his departure? No drama. It was a choice. He said it himself. The project in Las Vegas with Clint Kubiak played a major role. There was trust in the scheme and trust in the coaching staff. That kind of decision isn't just about money, it's about direction. Now I want to hear from you. Does a potential trade for Keon Coleman make sense for this offense? Or would you go after someone else? Because look, this might just be the beginning. The next story raises the stakes even more. There are front office decisions that completely reshape a franchise. And when it involves defense, especially the pass rush, things get even more sensitive. Because we're not talking about just any piece. We're talking about a player who came in, made an impact, and is still in his prime. That's not easy to replace. And even so, the team has opened the door to trade discussions. That alone raises a lot of questions. The name? Jonathan Greenard. And this is where the dilemma starts. Greenard signed a big contract not that long ago. The expectation was continuity and leadership on the defensive line. But now the financial side steps in. The player wants a raise. The team looks at the salary cap and hesitates. And when that kind of tension shows up, the word trade starts gaining momentum. And once that word is out there, it doesn't go away easily. What's even more surprising is the destination being discussed, Jacksonville Jaguars. And you stop and think, why? A team that already has strong edge rushers would really invest heavily in another one? It feels unusual at first. Well, when you look deeper, it starts to make sense. Behind their starters, the depth doesn't stand out. And in a league where pressuring the quarterback decides games, having a high-level rotation isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. That's where the value shifts. Greenard, even coming off a down season, still commands respect across the league. Only 3 sacks last year, sure. But there were injuries and disrupted rhythm. Context matters. And there's another key detail here. Minnesota isn't desperate to trade him, but they're also not comfortable paying more than they already are. It's that dangerous middle ground. Either you resolve it quickly, or it starts to wear things down. On the Jaguars side, there's the possibility of making the numbers work. They can adjust the deal and restructure bonuses. These are all moves teams use to fit important players under the cap. And the compensation, something in the range of a day 2 or day 3 draft pick. Not outrageous, but not cheap either. Now think about this. If this trade happens, you're not just adjusting the roster. You're changing the defensive identity, because pass rush isn't just stats. It's presence. It's fear in the opposing quarterback, and losing that, even partially, can cost you. Those are the moments that swing games. But at the same time, keeping an unhappy player rarely ends well. This is the kind of decision that splits the fan base right down the middle. And trust me, what comes next shifts the focus right back to the offense. Now hold on, because this is where things start getting dangerous. And when I say dangerous, I mean in the best possible way for anyone who loves explosive offense. This is where things can flip fast. The team has already made a move at the most important position in the sport. They brought in a quarterback who changes how you play. A guy who, when he's on, speeds everything up. He stretches the field and creates plays out of nothing. Kyler Murray. But here's the big question. Are you going to give him enough weapons to work with? Because right now, sure, Justin Jefferson is elite. Jordan Addison keeps improving every single game. But football doesn't work like that. You need depth. You need someone who constantly threatens the defense. That extra layer changes everything. And that's where a possibility comes in that, if it happens, completely changes the level of this offense. Tyreek Hill. I know it sounds like a video game move. It sounds over the top. But think about it. Hill is coming off a knee injury. He barely played recently. His numbers dropped. And in the NFL, that lowers market value. It makes teams hesitate before making a big investment, but it also creates an opportunity. That's where timing becomes everything. Because when he's healthy, you're talking about one of the most explosive players this league has ever seen. He has elite speed. Defenses back off constantly. Space opens up everywhere. Now imagine that in Minnesota. Jefferson on one side, Addison on the other, and Hill stretching the field deep. Man, that's not just good. That's unfair. That changes how defenses line up before the snap. And it doesn't even have to be a massive contract. It could be a one-year prove-it deal. He can show that he still has it. If it works, you end up with an almost unstoppable offense. That's the upside. If it doesn't, the risk was controlled. And let's be honest here, this team needs to take a step forward. Last season, they were close. They were right there, knocking on the door, but didn't get in. Bringing in Murray was meant to change that. It was meant to move past being average and to truly compete. But a quarterback alone doesn't fix everything. You have to surround him. And Hill, even with all the concerns, is the kind of name that changes defensive game plans just by being on the field. That's the kind of pressure you want to create. Now let me ask you, would you take that shot? Or do you think it's too risky right now? Because what comes next isn't about potential. It's about history repeating itself. There are moments when it's not just about talent. It's not just about arm strength or mobility. It's about history. It's about the weight of wearing this jersey and stepping into a cycle that has already broken a lot of players. And that's exactly the kind of situation the Vikings' new quarterback is stepping into right now. Kyler Murray. No one questions his talent. He's dynamic and improvises at a high level. He can change a game with his legs. He also has the arm to make difficult throws look easy. The tools are there. But Minnesota isn't just any place for a veteran quarterback trying to establish himself. There's a heavy history here. Since the 1990s, this team has gone through a true carousel at the position. Big names have come through. Some delivered unforgettable moments. Others fell apart quickly. That contrast defines this franchise. Jim McMahon led the team to the playoffs, but didn't go far. Warren Moon put up numbers, but without real impact. Randall Cunningham had a historic season and still fell short of the Super Bowl. Then came Brett Favre. 2009 felt like a movie. It felt like destiny. It felt like it was finally happening. And then, that interception. That pain that still sticks with anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. That moment still lingers. After that, attempt after attempt. Donovan McNabb didn't work out. Matt Cassell couldn't fix it. Josh Freeman became an episode many fans would rather forget. Sam Bradford brought hope. But injuries. Always injuries. Case Keenum delivered one of the most emotional moments in franchise history with the Minneapolis Miracle. But in the next game, reality hit hard. Kirk Cousins arrived with a massive contract to be the long-term solution. He had good numbers, yes, but something was missing. That next level never came. And now, it's Murray's turn. Do you see the pattern? Highs and lows, massive expectations, and pressure that builds fast. He could be the one to break that cycle. That's the opportunity in front of him. He could lead a memorable season, like we've seen before, Or he could become another name on that list, and it doesn't depend only on him. It depends on the roster around him. It depends on protection and on the offense working as a unit. But most of all, it depends on how he responds when the pressure really hits. Because here, this fan base in purple and gold does not tolerate inconsistency for long. And if this situation already feels heavy, what's happening with the quarterback room as a whole, including another experienced name, could change everything at once. Now we get into something a lot of people underestimate, but that can define an entire season without making noise. This is where depth becomes real. Because while everyone focuses on the main competition, there's a name quietly working in the background. He has already shown he can step up when no one expects it. Carson Wentz. The Vikings brought him back. Short deal. 1 year. A relatively low value compared to other quarterbacks around the league. $3 million, with a portion guaranteed. Nothing that breaks the salary cap. Nothing that makes headlines. But don't get fooled by that. Last season already gave a preview. When the team needed him, he stepped in. It wasn't perfect. There were mistakes and interceptions. But he also held things together in tough moments. That matters more than it looks. And here's the detail. He played through injury. He was battling through it. He had shoulder issues and constant pain. And he was still out there trying to keep the team afloat until the starter could return. That kind of effort resonates. That carries weight inside a locker room. Now, with Kyler Murray arriving and J.J. McCarthy still trying to fully establish himself, the situation has turned into an open competition. There is no guaranteed starting spot. That uncertainty raises the stakes, and that's where Wentz becomes that third piece no one talks much about, but who can suddenly become the main factor. He has experience. He's seen everything in this league. He's been a star. He's fallen. He's had to reinvent himself. That type of player can be dangerous in internal competition, because he doesn't need to prove hype. He needs to prove he can still perform at a high level when called upon. And let's not forget something important. Minnesota has seen quarterbacks leave and succeed elsewhere recently. That sticks with the front office. It sticks with the fan base. No one wants to miss another opportunity due to oversight. So bringing Wentz back, even without flash, is about protection. It's real depth. It's security for a roster that has already dealt with injuries at this position. And if something goes wrong with the top two options, he steps in. Simple as that. And sometimes, those are the exact moments when a season shifts direction. Those are the turning points. Now think about it. Do you trust this quarterback group to carry the team through the entire year? Because everything we've talked about, offense, defense, trades, signings, it all comes down to who has the ball in their hands. And that's what makes this situation even heavier. And that's what really hits me. Because when you put all of this together, you can feel that the Vikings are at a critical point. This is one of those defining stretches. There's a potential trade on the table, a signing that could elevate the offense to another level, a tough decision on defense, and a quarterback group that could define everything. Nothing here is small. Every move matters. If Kyler Murray clicks, if this offense gets another weapon, if the defense absorbs the impact, this team can truly compete. That's the window right there. But if the timing is off, the story might repeat itself again. And that's exactly what nobody wants to see. Now drop it in the comments. Do you believe this is finally the year? Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go.